Thank you, Kelly. Yep, so today you'll hear a lot of talks about how to build with AI, but this one is different because, you know, today building is no longer the hard part. AI lets you build everything, and that's exactly why you never launch. And today I will show you what I mean, based on a real project from one of my clients, and one simple way to make sure you will never went in the trap, right? So quickly about me. I'm Tom, over 25 years in IT. I had my own software house, launched a lot of startups, digital products. Fun fact, I've never been a software developer. I don't have a software development experience. And currently I run a solo agency building with no code and AI, helping clients to build with. But you know, in this world, my whole job is basically deciding what not to build. And so before we jump in, a question, how many of you are actually building on your own, building something? Okay, a lot. And how many of you are building professionally as an agency or freelancer? Okay, so as you know, you can now build almost anything for free. In days, no months, a solo person can ship what used to take months or quarters for the team, as JJ said previously. And with any stack you like, Bubble, Lovable, Bolt, Cloud Code, doesn't matter. I mean, the stack doesn't matter. And you know, I'm not arguing with it because this is how I make money. But the problem is, the real problem is that AI never says that you don't need that. If you are building with AI, if you are building with AI agents, AI will just build anything you want. So you have endless power but zero judgment. And the phrase that you don't need that yet, this is exactly what every founder needs to hear. And today I will tell you about the project. It is a marketplace and real business, months of development, super complex, but it could not launch. And I was brought to this project a couple of months ago to find out why. And the platform is called Good Mood Group. It's a marketplace for homeowners in Spain to connect them with local providers with some perks and special offers. So pretty cool idea. It's online. It has 400 verified partners right now, over 500 happy members. But the day I jumped into the project, it was like built for 10,000, but couldn't launch to 10. What was done? When I jumped in, I realized that we have, you know, the project with multiple user roles, 4-level geography, multiple countries, with no customers yet, right? So it was prepared for scaling from day zero. Guest system, agents, partner, codes, multiple currency support. Just to remind you, it was a platform to launch in one area in Spain, right, in Costa Blanca. Over 50 pages, over 20 database tables, 30 option sets. And what actually worked? Nothing, right? So nobody could ever even get in. I mean, the basic thing like should be in the marketplace, the user jumps into marketplace and can browse the catalog, it was not working. So we had a lot of things that were done for agency was working around, I think, 3 or 4 months, nothing was working. No proper payment flows. Catalog worked somehow, but showed the wrong thing. So the problem with this project, it wasn't that it was too little, it was too much from the start, right? We had 10 roles of users when we only needed one, the member, right? 3 membership tiers when we only needed one. And most of them, of course, were hardwired. None of them were correct because there was too much. 4-level international geography for a product that lives in a single area in Spain. Guest networks, agents, kickbacks, coupons, so features for users. The platform didn't have any users, right? So all of the features were built for the users that didn't exist. Of course, 4 external integrations from the day zero, HubSpot, Mailblue, Exact, Postmark, none working properly. And it was built with Bubble, but that was not a problem, right? That was the technology that was chosen. And the real problem is that the platform was so big that the team wasn't even able to properly test it. I mean, test in a business way, figure out if the business flow works properly. Of course, the business flows were changing, right, for the months that they were building. So it was too much, and I mean, you cannot fix what you cannot test. So the shift I introduced was to decide what not to build, right? Because, you know, these days when building is free, the only thing that matters is decide what not to build. If you want to launch, right? Because if you want only to build, that's okay. But if you want to launch, you need to decide what not to build. And my framework, it's not a real framework. It's just one question. If cutting this feature breaks the core loop that we should have at the beginning, if it's not breaking the core loop, we're just cutting it, right? This is the single question to cut about 80% of the scope at day 0 to launch most of the projects. So what was the decision? We decided to keep only 4 things. So to ship payment, setting up account and logging in, basic catalog of providers, and simple search. Basic search because there were, you know, only a couple of providers at the beginning, so there is no need to super complex search and filters. Every time when I am building some kind of a marketplace catalog, the first requirement is to have the super advanced filters. But you have to know that no one really likes to use these super advanced filters. We are spending months building super advanced filters which no one uses. And get in touch email forms. So we didn't build any super advanced flow for the member to reach out the local provider, just a form to send an email. And we parked for later. Guest access, digital coupons, agents, tiers, ambassador dashboards, reviews, ticketing system, integrations. I mean, this whole spec had around 50 pages. Of all of the things that needs to be done, and part of it, of them were done by the previous agency. We cut it all, and all rest of all of the ideas. And the only path that stays and that pays is that the member pays to join in. This is the most important part, right? We are getting the paid users. Then he gets in, lands in the app, and is able to browse the catalog in a super simple way. And then he can contact the local provider by sending a message, and that's all. So 80% of this whole scope should be cut before launch. And this is the general rule I have with the projects I jump in. I mean, if you cannot launch it in these days, if you cannot launch it in 3 or 4 weeks, that means that you over-engineered, right? If you cannot launch in 4 weeks, that means that you need to cut the scope. And we divided those in 3 sprints, 3 weeks. And actually, when I jumped in, we started with a blank app. And after 2 weeks, the client had a ready version that the members can jump in, right? So previously, 4 months building, nothing worked. Here, 2 weeks building, and actually they started earning money with the members. That's the difference between building and launching. This is what this was everything the first users got, right? So the layout was pretty nice. By the way, in the first version, it was even without the layout because the features were more important than the layout. So for our MVP, I asked client to prepare the layout. She used Lovable to create this, and I transferred it into the Bubble. We got a simple catalog, super simple search, and couple of categories to choose from. User pays, lands in the app, is able to browse the catalog, and then is able to go into the details of provider and send the message. A member clicks get in touch, and that's all. And that was what was really needed in this project, not all of the stuff. And then, after we launched, we built a feature by feature week by week, 1 week at a time, right? There is no need, you know, to ship all of the things in a day or in a week. It's too fast. You need to divide it into weeks that you are that you can actually try it on your own, test it manually, and try if it works also with the users. And right now the platform is pretty complex. This is where we are today. I mean, the catalog looks nearly the same, but the biggest difference is that we skip the whole filtering stuff and so on. We only have one search, powered by AI, by the way, that allows the users to ask the question about the provider. For example, what is a fun family activity? And again, we realized that we don't need filters after we checked with real users that they don't need that. They need an AI search because right now, these days, people are used to chatting with AI. So we built a simple AI-powered search. And again, this search is nothing sophisticated because if you put a prompt in Claude Code to ask him about building AI-powered engine to search, it will put you a multiple pages over-engineered instruction how to build the vector database and so on, put it in Supabase. It's not needed in most of the projects. This is super simple. We just take the list of all the providers, put them in the prompt in the background, and ask the AI, this is the model, I think we use Gemini for that, to choose from these providers based on the prompt from user. We don't use any vector database and any complex stuff. Again, most of the projects, they don't need that from day one. Thanks to this simple AI engine, we were also able to build optimized onboarding for users. Because again, after we launched, we realized that the users get lost after the initial onboarding. But we already had the engine that allowed, the search engine that allows us to put the to list the providers based on the questions from the users. So for the onboarding, we used this engine, and then again, to build this recommendation engine, it took only a couple of days. Thanks to that, we ask user a couple of questions. Based from these questions and answers, we are building a prompt, and this prompt is being sent. We are just basically simulating users inputting the data in the AI. The recommendation engine looks super nice, works super nice, didn't take a long time to build. Then the coupons. The requirements at the beginning were super complex. I mean, the QR codes, providing the provider's mobile app to scan those QR codes. Again, not needed, because the only thing what was needed is the user to be able to open the coupon, being on the page and show it, for example, to coffee or the restaurant that he has the coupon. Super simple, but provides value. The next part is the user profile. User profile, I mean, this is also one of the requirements that we often have when we start the project, that users should be able to manage his profile with all of the managing subscriptions and so on and so on. But the truth is, you know, most of the users, they never edit their profile. So at the version 1, we didn't have even an option for the user to edit the profile, and we didn't have an option to manage the subscription, because if someone buys the subscription, we cut down only to one tier, which was a yearly tier. So if someone buys a subscription today, he won't cancel it tomorrow, right? So we can wait for 10 months to build the subscription management. We don't need that from day zero. But what was needed is to have a log of accepted documents for compliance reasons, that the user accepts the privacy statement, terms of use, and so on. So we built that, for example, from day one. But managing profile, managing subscriptions, those stuff, really not needed. Then, in the initial version, there was a requirement also, because the homeowners are renting the houses for holidays and the guests are coming for 2 weeks, right? And the guests it would be also nice for the guests to be able to jump into the platform and explore the catalog. And the initial version was like the homeowners will add their properties, and then they will also add guests to the properties, inviting them to the platform. And also the property managers, who are the local ones, because if homeowner is not on the place, should also have this possibility and super complex flow to add the properties. The manager accepts the property manager, and so on and so. So super complex, no one understood it, right? So, but after they launched, they realized that this is not needed, but what's needed and what actually makes them money is providing another tier just for guests. And we built a simple flow for the guests. The guest pays €50 to be able to access the platform for 2 weeks without any complex flow of connecting properties, invitations, member, no one cares, no one does it, right? But guests arrives to the property, sees the QR code at the desk, scans it, and pays €50, and it lands at the platform. Super simple, and works and makes money, which is most important thing. And the partners were not at the day one, but are important for the platform in long term. But again, when they launched, they didn't have any partner, right? So to build a super complex partner dashboard, if you don't have any partners, you can even serve them the manual support and serve them manually instead of building the dashboard. So we only build the dashboard after the platform has the first partners. We are not building for the users who doesn't exist. And right now, the partner dashboard, the core feature of it are the discount codes, the referral codes that connects partners with users and gives them the discounts. Do we have the system to automatically set up the discounts, calculate discounts, and do the payouts for partners? Of course not. Could we build one? Of course, yes. Is it needed? No. So, till now, over 25 sprints, we are still building it, but you know, each one is testable in an afternoon. It's super small scope. The team validates it. The team understands the product and the complexity of the product and how it works. This is super important. And we are not doing the big bang launches. We are shipping every week. Every new feature ships in a week or two. And actually, users are also seeing that the platform is evolving, right? If they will, like, nothing is happening for half a year and then big bang, the platform is completely rebuilt, it's not a good way to do things. And of course, parking the feature doesn't mean that we delete them. As I said, for example, the guest access, we cut it from the launch, but it came back as a different feature, as a paid add-on. And this was the real need from the users. Then the second region. The original build, we started only with Costa Blanca. I didn't have the global engine because region 2 went in 6 weeks, right? So this was the real need, right? Not in day one, in 6 weeks. And partner access, 0 partners day one. The first partner onboarded in 6 weeks. Sorry, here it was 6 months, here 6 weeks, right? But for the partner access, to actually design it, we had a 0 build cost because we designed it with the partners that actually jumped in and we discussed the features with them, not imagining what will be the best. So build less, right? I know that when you are building with AI, it's super tempting to build everything. Also, when you are building with AI and you are prompting AI, it is always over-engineering, always. It is giving you the solutions that are super complex, that have a lot of features. It will never tell you don't need that, right? If you don't prompt it like this. So fewer features, but do it solid. For example, payments at launch, were super simple. I mean, we used the Stripe plugin. We didn't even build the custom integration. Then once it works, you can iterate. You can build the custom integrations. You can build additional features. And it was built with Bubble that JJ already mentioned. And the thing with the tools, it's the same as with the scope, right? Because in today's world, the tech stack doesn't really matter, right? If you start with Bubble, you can jump out of Bubble in a couple of months because any agent can rewrite any app based on the features in a couple of days. So the tech stack you choose today doesn't really matter because you won't stick with the tech stack in 10, 12, or 24 months, right? It doesn't work. I mean, for many, many years in the software development, it was that you were choosing the tech stack and you were with this tech stack for years. These days, it really makes no sense because you can rewrite the whole thing in a couple of hours. And what's the most important thing, that you should pick the tool, the technology that allows you to launch and understand the thing. Because if you are only building, it's not a problem. You have 0 users, you have 0 users means 0 problems. But if you actually launch and the users will come, you need to understand the tool, you need to understand the platform to solve the problems of these users, right? And if you don't understand what you are building, if you don't understand what you are building, what's under the hood, when the problems start popping out, when the bugs start popping out, you won't be able to solve it. Bubble has this visual editor, right? So it allows you to build visually in an old-fashioned way by point and click. But also has this AI agent that allows you to build with AI. And also, thanks to George, we have a wonderful tool called BuildPrint that allows you to connect an external agent like Claude Code to Bubble and build with that. So the technology doesn't matter, right? You can build the same with Bubble, you can build the same with Claude Code. Pick the one that you understand, not the one that it's fancy. And you don't need to change the technology every 2 weeks. For this project, Bubble is super good for now. What will be in 12 months, in 5 years, we'll see. We don't know that yet, right? When we need to rebuild, we will rebuild. When it's okay, we don't need to rebuild because there is something new. If it works, if it makes you money, it makes no sense to rebuild. So to sum up, so this is the method, right? So find the one core loop, cut everything that doesn't block it, park the rest for the future roadmap, and launch, right? Launch to the first users and get the feedback from the users, and let the demand create the roadmap, not you. So one thing to remember, today's skill is not building faster, it's building less. Because anyone can build anything now, right? The people are building at the workshop right now a lot of things. So the real skill in this world is deciding what not to do and to actually launch. So be the one who launches. If you want to get in touch, here's my LinkedIn, and I think we still have some place for the questions. The one question I often get is, how do I convince clients to cut all of the scope? So the answer is simple. I don't take clients who doesn't want to do it, right? But if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer.
We have about 5 minutes, so and I have one mic, and we have a volunteer who might be able to run another mic. While you're thinking of your question, I'm going to let you know that the app, if you weren't able to log in before, it's fixed. So you can log in now if you weren't able to do that. Okay, so if you have a question, I saw a hand. Okay, we've got our first one.
Just wondering, I get the idea of cutting the scope. Did you literally just throw all the code in the bin and start from scratch, or did you pick elements of code from the existing, what was there, and then work from that?
It was easier to build it from scratch. Okay. Right? It was just easier because the app was already so complex to understand the way it was built and actually fix the flaws only to launch the basic one that was really needed. It was easier to just cut down. And sometimes you just need to do that, right? You don't need to be afraid about, starting from scratch and cutting the things that doesn't work.
Hey, you said today's skill is not building faster, it's building less. Be the one to launch. So I'm assuming then how soon are you testing your products or your tools with users, and how are you testing it? Are you testing it on Reddit, TikTok? Are they friends, family? How are you testing your products, and how soon should we test ours? As soon as once we've built it.
Yeah, that's a complete different thing, right? The distribution, how to reach the users. I mean, this is not my product. This is the client product that I mostly build for clients. But this is a really good question. I mean, how to reach out to users. And this is the question that often the founders, they don't need to respond. They don't want to respond to that question, right? This is why they are constantly on the build mode, because they don't want to reach out to users. And what I'm doing, I'm pushing them, to do so, find the users, get some traction, yeah? And where to find them, I mean, depending on the product, right? This one was like dedicated to the group. They already have some service providers and the members because they run the industry. And these days, I mean, if you have an industry knowledge and are able to build things and reach out the people from your industry, I think this is the best way to do things, right?
Okay, we have time for one, maybe two more questions. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay. Oh, yep.
Thank you. So you're building less, but are you planning more? Do you look at the roadmap of the features and think about like your database architecture or something like that? Have you got a view of the next 6 months so that you don't pick up any technical debt when you do come to build those features?
It's really, I mean, it's not always possible, right? It's super good to create the architecture that will scale. But, we really don't know what will be in the 6 months. So we are not planning ahead of 6 months or 6 years, right? Come on, this is not this is not a banking systems. Most of the projects, we are just building simple apps for the users, right? So sticking with, planning for months for the scalable architecture instead of doing something simple and launching, I think it's a mistake, right? If you don't know, I mean, if you don't really reach out to users yet, right? If you already did and okay, but if you didn't, in my perspective, it doesn't make sense. Of course, it's good to plan the architecture if you don't know how to do it, right? But if you don't know the real roadmap, because if you are launching from zero, you have nothing, and you are planning the roadmap for the next 6 months, it makes no sense.